So you're saying that you would pick Funyuns over like those cheddary ruffles?
Non Mastriati tutti I Funyuns.
Mm-hmm.
No, non Mastriani tutti I Funyuns.
Nah. So over Lay's sour cream and chives?
I'm not really big on those.
I am drinking strawberry quick milk.
Well, I sure hope it's not water.
No ice this time.
Oh my god,
Got
that
it.
was going to be my next question. I am so proud of you.
I put 3 teaspoons. Not a tablespoon. The teaspoon's smaller than the tablespoon, right? Yes. So I put 3 teaspoons in, and I have probably like 16-ounce cup. So just for context, is that 16 ounces?
You're asking the wrong person. I measure with the heart.
16-ounce cup. 3 teaspoons of strawberry quick. I poured the milk in there, stirred it up, took a sip, and I said, I think it needs some more. So I didn't even get the spoon out because I had already mixed it up and got the spoon wet, and I didn't want to put a wet spoon in the quick. So I just like picked the thing up and just sort of shook some more into it. Came out perfect.
I made tea and I started squeezing honey into it until my hand cramped.
What kind of tea is it?
Green tea.
Punch it to me.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Colby Cast, where we dive into movies,
21 gigawatts!
TV,
Sometimes I'll start a sentence, and I don't even know where it's going. I just hope I find it along the way.
and everything in between.
Well, I don't know how you get a podcast, but you should look into it.
I'm Colby, and I'm joined by my 2 awesome sons, Caleb
I don't know how to tie my shoes.
and Luke.
I never shut up.
Together, we're your friendly neighborhood pop culture nerds, here to share our thoughts on Star Wars, Marvel, the latest entertainment news, and maybe even some sports.
You believe in miracles? Yes!
So grab a piece of cake
Cake! Everybody loves cakes.
and find a comfy spot on the couch, because this is your place for community and conversation about pop culture and storytelling.
What an incredible smell you've discovered.
You know, I love doing the Colby Cast. I really, really do. I love sitting down week after week talking to you guys about whatever. Like, it doesn't matter. Whatever our episode subject topics are, it's always a joy for me to sit here and talk to you guys about them. I never know what's going to come flying out of your face, and I have to be ready for whatever it is.
Don't
But-
worry, we don't know what's going to come flying out of our mouths either.
Yeah, I know. That's part of the fun. But I have to tell you, and I think you know this is no big surprise. When we talk about Star Wars, it like reaches the stratosphere for me. This is like the peak of the Colby Cast mountain when we get to talk about Star Wars. And we have another TV show in front of us ready to talk about called The Skeleton Crew. The first 2 episodes dropped Monday, December 2nd. Here we are talking about it, trying to get it out there for people to enjoy and consume. I think part of the fun of Star Wars being out there, like a movie or a TV show, is hearing other people's opinions about it and going to those podcasts, because you just want to keep revisiting the moments that you come. At least I do. It may not be for you guys, but I love listening to the conversation while the show's going on, and I love being a part of that conversation. I love that you guys are a part of the conversation. So enough of my rambling about that stuff. Skeleton Crew started. What was your anticipation level? What was your expectation going into this show? I know we talked about the Skeleton Crew trailer a few episodes ago, but just going into this, where were you guys at with it? Were you looking forward to it?
I was ready for it to come out, but I wasn't like chomping at the bit for it. I think it was one of those things where I was probably a little disappointed in the last few Star Wars projects, so my hopes weren't too high for it, but I wasn't like not wanting to watch it, but I don't know. I was just fine with it before it came out. The trailer looked cool, but it didn't get me super excited for it, but I knew I was going to watch it anyways.
Interesting. So, like the fact that it was, kids lost in space, the marketing of it was like, you know, and sort of like a tribute to 80s Goonies type movies, that kind of stuff. Did that appeal to you guys at all? Because you're not from that time, but you guys can appreciate those movies like E.T. and like the Goonies and stuff. So did that play into it at all? And Caleb, what was your anticipation level and expectation?
To be honest with you, I completely forgot that this was ever going to exist, let alone be like around the corner, ready for us to watch. Because of that, I also had no expectations, and I think if I had any expectations, I would just like let myself down. So I don't know. You told us like let's watch it so we can talk about it. So I watched it, and now we're gonna talk about it.
Yeah, we are going to talk about it. What about the whole 80s angle of it, like the whole the retro feel that they were going after? Did that do anything for you guys? Caleb, you've sort of answered that already with your answer, but Luke, how about you?
Not really. It wasn't until we got into the first episode where I was like, "Whoa, this is different." So I no, I didn't it didn't change much before I watched it.
So for me, like I knew that John Favreau and Dave Filoni were involved in this because it sort of takes place in the same New Republic time frame as The Mandalorian and the whole world that they're setting up. And the fact that John Watts and Christopher Ford were writing and producing this, those guys, well, John Watts directed all three of the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies in the MCU. So those are pretty good. And Christopher Ford wrote Homecoming with John Watts. So these two are like the two head showrunners for this show. So there's a lot of good storytellers in that group. So that made me excited. I like the fact that Jude Law was going to be a part of it. I'm not a super Jude Law fan, but I know he's done a lot of cool stuff. So I was looking forward to seeing him in Star Wars. And I gobbled up the whole 80s tone and the whole marketing angle and the whole like Galactic Goonies kind of thing and the kids lost in space. Uh, I was really looking forward to it. And this is sort of the one that's been around for a long time, but sort of also not being, it wasn't like a hugely anticipated thing that was dominating the zeitgeist and stuff. So I sort of like it when things come in sort of like on the down low and have the potential to be cool, but no one's really, knocking down the door to get to it. And maybe I just read the room wrong or not. I don't know, but I think that that's sort of where this show was. Like, it has the potential to be surprisingly good. So that's sort of where I was. So with that being said, and Luke, you already alluded to it, I just love to know what you guys thought. Like, what did you guys think of the first two episodes?
This sounds bad. I didn't want to like it, but I do. I do like it, especially the first episode. Um, I was ready to just go through the motions and be like, bad show, bad writing, bad acting. But no, I like it. I really do. Um, the tone switch caught me off guard a little bit because the first thing you see is pirates killing a bunch of people and then mutinying, and then you see for the next like I don't know 30 minutes just an 80s show, like kids taking the bus to school and
Yeah.
even the houses, it just felt like I don't know. You know what it felt like? It felt like in Guardians of the Galaxy 3 where they go to that space planet that's Earth and you're like, what's happening here? And I felt the same way because Star Wars has always separated itself so much from the way that we view like everything.
Yeah.
So it was really weird to see it that way, but I really liked it. I thought the characters were interesting. I thought the story was fun. I thought the animation was cool. I definitely had to adjust the way that I was viewing it because I do think that this is targeted for a younger audience. But with that being said, I just had to like remind myself that some of the dialogue had to be a little bit maybe easier to understand or less complicated just because it's trying to reach a younger audience. And I didn't have a problem with that because it was still interesting and still well done.
Yeah, I we're not looking for like and or level of sophistication with the writing because this is a story being driven by adolescents, so the dialogue would have to run with that. So I just think it's so funny that you tried not to like it, but it won you over. That makes my heart so happy. How about you, Caleb?
I have a very expressive face, which isn't the best for podcasting. Um, but I feel like I can describe my expectation watching the first couple minutes of the show and like how I enjoyed it based off of his name is Wim, right?
Yeah, Wim.
Wim is walking his hover bicycle instead of like riding it because it has like I don't know why. It bothered me that he was walking it. But he like throws it over the guardrail and you just hear the little bell chime like a little kids would if they were like biking to school. And up to that point, I was like, "Oh my god, this isn't a family show. This is a kids show. I'm watching a show for children." And then I did that and I go, "Oh no, it's just geared toward kids, but like there's going to be tidbits here and there where it's like, okay, no, that was really cool Star Wars stuff, not necessarily a kids show." So, I would say shout out to the bike for giving me a little bit of perspective. Um that coupled with SM33 having a full on, like straight out of like Pirates of the Caribbean accent.
Mhm.
Um, I was like, okay, no, I now understand what this show is trying and almost doing perfectly to sort of set the tone for what's to come. Apparently,
So it's safe to say that you both enjoyed the first two episodes.
Yes, I did. I very much did. I enjoyed the first one more than the second one, but I still enjoyed the second one.
And
that's weird because I enjoyed the second one far more than the first one.
interesting. Why did what was it about the first one, or maybe what was it about the second one that made you enjoy the first one more, Luke?
Um,
Running
I don't
time.
maybe part of that. Um, I maybe it was just the fact that it was new and it was fresh and it was unlike anything we've seen before. That sort of captivated me in the first episode. Um, I also like the dynamic of the kids rebelling against the system and the social norm and stuff, and you don't really get that in the second episode because they're in space. But
Pirates. Yeah.
that's just a whole different tone and a whole different focus, and I didn't dislike that at all. Um, but just the contrast and everything, there was so many similarities to they're doing the testing and everything, and I remember taking state testing myself and then not wanting to do it. The kids being home alone and being like, okay, go study, and the parents ditch you. That felt very like nostalgic, and I really liked that. And the mystery of it all too. Is that really a Jedi temple? Okay, what's inside of it? Okay, what's going on? Where is this place come? Where is this from? Where is it taking them? There was so much mystery to it, and I think there's still a little bit of mystery in the second episode, and I didn't dislike it. But the first one, I was really excited to see where everything was going to go. The second episode was sort of just straight line story, and that's okay. But I like the first one more.
Yeah, I agree with you. The first, I mean, I really enjoyed both of these episodes, and I can see what you mean. It's not that the second episode was any less like lower quality. It's just it's more that the first episode was such high quality that, and so new and so different, that the second episode did feel much more Star Warsy. But yeah, the life that they live on at Aten, this is the planet name, is so, and it was one of the things that I got concerned about when I watched the trailer, was like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of similarities here to Earth, if we're being honest. And
It
I'm
felt a
like,
little too real.
it in the trailer or in the episode?
Both. Like, I think it was okay in the episode, but you're not used to Star Wars being anything you can really relate to from a visual standpoint.
Yeah. I felt like that was a concern for me because of the trailer, but then I didn't find that it was a concern whatsoever when I started watching it, because it was familiar enough to understand what they're trying to get across with this planet, but it was also Star Warsy enough that I really enjoyed certain things, like his data pad with his Jedi Legends that he kept on clicking through. Like, I loved that. I thought that was super cool. It made me remember, like, it made me think of like Viewmasters, those things where you put the little disc of different pictures and you click the thing through and it's like going through and showing you different pictures. Did you guys, is that before your time? You guys know what I'm talking about, right? The Viewmasters?
No idea.
Well, Google Viewmaster, you'll see what it is. I know you guys used to have one. But that gave me that type of a vibe, and I thought that was
Google.
cool.
Why would I Google something? That's so like 2020. It's AI now.
Oh, you just have to ask your AI. Oh, and then did you guys notice, like, when he was sitting in his classroom, when Wim was in the classroom, and he was sort of doodling on his desk? It reminded me of like the Etch-a-Sketch.
Yeah, that was
controls.
my exact thought too.
Yeah, so it was like a Star Warsy take on sort of our reality, and I ate that stuff up. I found myself really enjoying that part of it, where I was before like, oh my gosh, is this going to be too much like real life? Because Star Wars is never ever something that you can like relate to in real life. So, but I found it to be very cool. I am super intrigued by the story, and we'll get into more details as to why. I really love these characters. I'm really invested in them. For me, it was super fun. Just, it was fun, and I love the fact that it was fun in the galaxy far away. And I also thought that the story was very fast paced. So all of these things, I just am super happy with the first two episodes, and I've actually watched them 3 times each.
What?
Yeah.
I was
watched
literally just thinking, I was like, yeah, I enjoyed it on one watch. I don't think I'll ever watch them again.
I enjoyed them even more on each subsequent watch, and I usually will watch both. I'll watch an episode twice just so I can try to get my memory to work around these things, so that we can talk and I can remember things without having to write notes and stuff. But then this evening, Mom actually asked about it, and I'm like, hey, we should watch it. And she's like, sure. So we put it on, and because that second episode is so short, it just feels like one big episode, like a big long episode. But I just laugh and giggle. And I have to tell you, my favorite thing about this show. Wait, do you want to guess? Do you want to guess what my absolute favorite thing about this show is? I'll give you a hint. It's a character. Do you want to guess who my
The
favorite?
little blue dude.
Yeah, Dumbo.
It's absolutely Neil. His name is Neil. Get it in your head and
Dumbo.
remember. I'm going to be talking about Neil a lot.
Like
Dumbo.
deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah, like Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Like Armstrong.
Like
Trunky.
Neil Armstrong. No, not like either one of those, because it's spelled Neel. Did you call him Trunky?
Yeah.
I liked the little furball thing he had a crush on.
Okay,
Rhonda?
listen. Runa. Her name is Runa.
Yeah, Rhonda.
Roomba.
This is
Roomba.
one of the things I love most about Neil. Neil just wants to go home, and he just wants to talk to Runa. Just let Neil Neil has to be protected at all costs. I need Neil to be returned home, and I need him to talk to Runa. That
I
is
need to
my
watch
investment.
Neil take another living being's life.
It's possible. I mean, he may have to defend himself. He may. He may. But he's absolutely my favorite part. He's the one that is completely outside of his element. Like, he is absolutely like Wim. He's quick on his feet. He wants adventure. He desires the situation that he's in. This is what he wants. So that immediately makes him safer than Neil. Fern, I think Fern, she is smart. She's street smart. She's sort of living this double life where she's like acting like a thug, right? She's racing bikes, but at the same time, she's super smart in school. So did you notice that she wears her jacket inside out when she's at school, but then when she got home, she turned it the right side out so that she can appear to her mom as like the good studious student.
Yeah, and
I
her
did not
mom is
notice that.
the something
Undersecretary.
undersecretary vice something.
And then KB is super smart, like absolutely in her element with like the techie side of things. But Neil is completely out of his element. He just wants to talk to Runa, take his bubble baths, and take care of his baby siblings. Like, he's awesome.
Trunky has a crush on Roomba.
Trunky has a crush on Roomba.
I
And she wants to be an accountant.
I can't help but think of the like mech people from Boba Fett and how like they're like, oh, you're like destroying your body by adding
Oh,
like droid pieces. Every time I see KB, I just think of that. I don't know why.
The neck people from Boba Fett?
Mech,
Oh,
mech,
mech.
mech,
I
mech.
thought you were talking about the Kaminoans.
Oh yeah, they have some neck on
They do have some neck.
them.
I miss the Kaminoans. Bring the Bad Batch. Oh, I miss the Bad Batch.
Oh my god, I wasn't even thinking of the right species. I was thinking about the one that has like the voice box and like the side profile looks like a backwards S and they're just like really tall and long and sort of like that.
Oh, the Ithorians. There was an Ithorian in Women and Neil's class and Runa's class.
Yes, there was one of those kinds of people there. But that's what I thought of when you were talking about a lot of neck because they have a lot of neck too.
So we've talked. I mean, that's really Neil. Neil is the guy. And to let you guys know, do you know who Max Rebo is?
Of course.
Okay, Caleb, you know who Max Rebo is? We had an encounter at Celebration with Max Rebo. Do you remember?
Is it the Death Sticks, bro?
No. That's not.
Then I don't know.
He's the little blue alien that plays instruments.
Oh yeah.
And he was throwing shade at me because I was wearing my Figrin Dan T-shirt,
I remember this.
and he was hating on me because I guess they have a whatever, a quarrel or something, whatever. But anyway,
It's called
Yeah,
a
that's like
beef.
beef. No broccoli.
that's the word I was
Beef.
trying to look for. The beef. They have a beef. So he's not the same species as Max Rebo. This has been confirmed by Leland Chi and the writer Christopher Ford. So don't go off and call him whatever a Max Rebo alien he is. He's not. He must be
Chunky.
protected. Trunky. I can tell you. I want to talk about Wim for a second. We've brought him up a little bit, but the thing I love most about Wim is that he cannot resist pushing buttons. I identify with that so much because whenever we go to Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland, I literally just walk around and push every single button that I can, even though I know
Why limit yourself? You constantly push everybody's buttons.
that I really don't. I really
No,
don't.
you're pretty, Switzerland.
But when we would go on like the Millennium Falcon ride, the buttons there are so magnificent. Like you just smash those buttons and so much happens. It's just amazing. So listen, it's completely Wim's fault that they got shot out into space because he couldn't resist tapping buttons. But I'm not going to blame him because I have the similar thing. Like if there's a lever to be pulled in the Star Wars, you got to pull the lever. You have to push the button. So he cannot be held accountable for any of this stuff. I feel like he's quick on his feet. He desires this type of adventure, and I look forward to seeing what's going to happen with Wim.
I
I
don't
know
love him.
what.
I don't love Wim.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you, because I know that you guys don't always love the kid-centric type of stuff, and that's just because you're in your 20s. You have to get a little bit older to understand and like enjoy that again. What is it about Wim that you're not in love with?
Um, I like Neil, so don't get me wrong. I'm not anti-kid.
I thought that was your whole like premise was
Yeah,
I
like you
don't
can't
like.
like both.
No, no. I thought you were just gonna say like I only like him. I have no capacity to like anybody else.
Yeah. Um, I don't know. I get Wim. I get his thing. You know, he doesn't belong, and he's looking for his escape, and this is his opportunity to break out of the matrix. You know, I get it. I don't think that they set it up great. I think if you're gonna have that kind of thing, he's got to be a little bit more rebellious than that, because he wasn't really rebellious. He was just sort of like dumb. I don't know. He didn't do any of this stuff on purpose. All this is sort of just happening to him, and he's kind of going with it. So when he was like, you know, rushing to get to the exam or whatever, he was like super nervous and worried about it. And then he finds the Jedi Temple. Then he's excited, and then he's supposed to go study the whole time, but then he doesn't. And I don't know. He didn't feel like he was looking for an escape as much as Fern did. That's her name, right?
Fern, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Fern clearly looks like she's looking for an escape. Wim doesn't quite feel like he's looking for an escape. So when he's, sort of self-sabotaging, I just think like, oh, so you're just dumb. I know what they're going for. It just hasn't quite resonated with me the way that it has with Fern or with Neil.
It's an interesting observation, because I don't see Wim as being dumb as much as I see him in a situation that he's not happy with. He craves the adventure, like I've mentioned, but he does love his dad. Like I don't feel like there's no animosity between he and his dad. His dad is working a lot, right? We don't know what's happened to his mom. He mentioned something to his dad about like, could you read me a story like mom used to? So clearly she's not there. So I feel like he wants to go somewhere else, but he loves his dad, so he will continue to go through and do what he's supposed to do, like study, like be ready for the test, etc., etc. But then when he gets the tantalization or the tantalizing nugget of adventure dangled in front of him, he takes that bait very easily. But then he's held back by not wanting to do wrong by his dad. So I think that may be that's how I view what you're calling him being sort of dumb. I see him as sort of conflicted. Fern, you're right. Like Fern, she wants to rebel. She's rebellious. She's a racer. She wants to beat the guy. That's why she wants the power converter. She's clearly very smart, but she's like sort of like gazing off into the distance, like Rey does in Force Awakens. Like she wants to be out of the situation too, but I don't know that she doesn't love her mom, but it seems like there's more of a coldness there. Like I respect you, but I don't think she loves her mom like Wim loves his dad. I don't know. Does that make any sense to you guys?
Yeah, I can see that. I I see value in that. I think that Fern and Wim are similar in certain things and very different in other things. Um, and I definitely think that that's what they're going for. Those two seem to be the two main characters because they've gone deepest into, we've seen the insides of their homes. We've seen the dynamics that they have
Yeah.
with their families. We haven't seen that with Neil or what's the other girl's name?
KB.
KB. Yeah, we haven't seen that with them. So
Yeah, at this point,
those-
KB is a complete mystery. Like, we don't know anything beyond that she's a friend of Fern's, right?
yeah, and that's I think that's intentional.
Caleb, where do you weigh in on all this?
I remember you was conflicted.
Misusing your influence.
You said conflicted, and it made me had to compulsively quote Kendrick Lamar.
Oh, that's why I didn't understand that reference.
Yes. I think so. I see Fern and Wim to be the main characters, and Trunky and KB to be the side characters of them.
100%.
I definitely think they're all going to play their own role because, like, I don't know why I vaguely remember the four of them and Jude Law being on like the poster. Am I right or am I wrong with that?
Yeah, they're all there.
And there's like one more, no, not including 33. What's his name?
SM33. SM33, yeah. It doesn't, I mean, it depends on the poster that you're looking at, because the one has her mom, Fern's mom, on it, and I think another one has Wim's dad on it. There's some pirates and other ones, so it depends on the poster you're looking at.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, well, I definitely want to know where it's going to go next because I feel like we've seen a lot of what it's going to be based off of what they laid the foundation for in episode 2, where they're saying that the kids are joking because it's a lost planet and it's fictional, it's not real, it's of myth and all this whatever. And you can see that Wim's dad is like very frantically searching for the children because he's the only one who knows where they went. So you know what's coming. I'm curious to know how they'll piece it together. But I'm hoping that it'll continue to be like it's almost familiar, but also very different and very especially different for Star Wars. So I think all those aspects I really like, and I'm hoping they continue to find that balance between, oh man, that's just a copy like of other 80s pirate types like Goonies, like you said, but also staying true to like the theme that they've already built so far.
I wanted to, before I want to get into a little bit of what you're talking about with the At-Aten, the idea of this planet, and I got some Easter eggs that I want to share with you guys. But before we get into that, I wanted to finish off with our character discussion. We've mentioned KB. I really like KB. I like how the actress, the young lady, portrayed her. She seems very kind. She's very quiet, but she's super, super smart. And I absolutely nerded out when she plugged in that cord into that little whatever that thing is that she's wearing, which is absolutely inspired by Lobot from Empire Strikes Back. Remember that bald guy with the thing around his head that hung out with Lando? I love that there's like this new take on that. If you don't know who Lobot is, I'll show you a picture of him later, guys, because it's sort of a deep cut, sort of. But did you notice like when she plugged that cord into her headset and then into the ship, and that's what opened the door? I don't know
Yeah.
why I loved that so much, but it was like a droid when they go in and they just turn their little magic turner thing to get everything to do what it needs to be done, like R2 does. That was like her version of that, and I don't know why I loved that so much, but it was super cool. I also liked her dynamic with Fern and her dynamic in their group. She could be the MVP in my opinion. So
that plugin was to me very reminiscent of like Echo.
yes, I got Tech vibes. I honestly was thinking of Tech a lot when she was doing her thing.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So KB, I don't sleep on her. She could be like a sleeper MVP out there. I am smitten with SM33. That droid, from the time I've seen pictures of him in the marketing, I've thought is just a magnificent concept in the way he looks. I've really enjoyed, and now that I've seen him on screen and heard his voice and know his name, and see the little rat that keeps popping out of his head.
Yeah, that's
All
so
of
funny.
it, I love it. I love it. I want to hear your guys' opinion on him too. See if it worked for you. But I did want to tell you, this is a pirate story, right? He's the first mate of that ship, right? His name is SM-33, right?
SM for first mate.
No, S like Sam, not F like Frank. First.
I know, I'm kidding.
SM-33. Think of Peter Pan. The first mate to Captain Hook is named Smee.
Ah,
That's why his name is SM-33. They're recalling Smee. They're doing like
is
a
it
little
actually?
homage. Yeah, yeah,
Oh, that's funny.
yeah. I thought it was. I just love it so much. It's just I just nerd out on that kind of stuff. So anyway, what do you guys think about SM-33 or 33 as they ended up calling him?
Originally, when I saw like the marketing for all this stuff, I was like, okay, they saw the success of K2SO and we're just gonna like dupe him. But he to
Sure.
me is almost too eerily similar to the robot in Real Steel. You guys remember that movie with Hugh Jackman?
Yeah, it's cool. It's a cool movie.
Adam.
Adam, yep. He to me it was like exactly it. And then that was before he started like transforming his arms into Captain America shields and stuff.
Yeah, that was cool. I liked that, but then like it like heated up. Was it heating up because of the blaster shots, and then he ended up like burning that one dude?
I
Or
think
That's what I
so.
thought.
that was cool. That was cool. Luke, how do you like Smee or 33 or SM-33?
I like him. I like him a lot. Having played the Jedi Survivor and Jedi Fallen Order games, I kept thinking back to this robot that you meet that was from the days of the Old Republic. This droid who was in charge of helping train younglings. I forgot what the droid's name was, but it was super cool. Um, so I kept trying to figure out because we don't know where this ship that they're on is from. We don't know how long ago it got there, so we don't know how old SM-33 is. So I kept
I
thinking,
agree.
like,
Yeah.
where is this droid coming from? What is this droid's objective? How long has this droid been around? That kind of thing. So when it was, you know, trying to throw Wim out of the airlock and stuff, I just kept thinking, like, yeah, this is an old-fashioned droid. This droid's been around for a while, and I like it.
Yeah, he's got some power in those punches. And you guys noticed that there was that one pirate from Mandalorian season 3, I think it was. Well, his name is Vane, I believe it is. That he took the brunt of 33's punches.
Yeah, you got a whipping.
He had a rough day. Oh, and just for you're not asking this question, but I'm thinking of it. I did a little bit of fishing around the timeline, and this is all taking place around the same time as the Mandalorian seasons 1 and 2. So this is like 9 years after the Battle of Yavin. So like 5 years after the Return of the Jedi, which is when the Mandalorian starts. So this is firmly entrenched in that New Republic timeline. So that also excites me because of Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau's involvement. Will we get any references to those other stories that are being told? I don't know, but I also thought about the same thing. Like, how long has that ship been buried on At-Aten, and how old is this droid? Where did it come from? What does it mean? And it's pirates, so it doesn't have to really tie into anything. And why am I blanking on his name? He's the best character ever. The one from Rebels and the Clone Wars, the pirate, Hondo
Hondo
Ohnaka.
Onaka?
Do you think we
Jabba
get a
the Hutt.
live action? Are we going to get a live action Hondo?
I saw a lot of people talking about that. I don't think we will.
Oh, I want
I don't
it.
see why not though.
I want it.
I feel like when they had a live action Bane, nobody really like expected it, but it was a good payoff. I feel like it could be similar.
Hondo's the kind of character too that it doesn't have to be centered around him. He can just show up, be weird, and then just do his thing because that's who he is as a character,
I,
right?
I also feel like this is the perfect show to just have the most absolute throwaways, like in terms of Easter eggs, and not have to worry about it being canon or anything like that, because like they're literally in like a junk pile of a pirate port, and they could just have him in the background in
Yeah,
passing or something.
I don't. I also don't expect. On that note, I don't expect to see the Skeleton Crew fighting alongside the Mandalorians to take down Moff Gideon, right?
Sure, right, but I mean, they could work. Their paths could cross in a movie that's like 5 years down the road. Who knows? We don't know. I guess we'll see what this show turns into. The one connection that I do see that could work in what you're talking about, Luke, is the character that Jude Law is playing. And um, so one of the things about his character, we get nothing, like literally nothing. Well, not nothing. I mean, it's a pretty big reveal. He is a force wielder. They meet him here at the end when they're stuck in the brig, and he, force pulls this key over to him, and of course that gets Wim just absolutely focused in, like, because he's the one obsessed by the Jedi, right? Even more so than Neil. Um, but we don't get anything beyond that. Like, he's stuck in this prison. He's chained. His feet are chained together. He says he's been there for too long. He wants to help them, but he wants something out of it. But he also, from what I understand, is that captain from the first scene of the show, which is Captain Silvo, which the crew mutinies, and we are assuming that this is him now in jail, although we do know that his name is Jod Nawood is his name. That's the full name.
Is he a
Just so
woodpecker?
Jod. So Jod, we're gonna go with that. But from what I don't know. I don't know if we're supposed to not trust this character. I don't know what he's going to turn into. Is this going to be like he's a selfish pirate, but he's got a heart of gold situation? Those are the questions that I'm left with just by his introduction, because we just don't have much to go on. But he's the star of the show, right? So you don't get Jude Law and not do much with him. That's the character I could see that would turn into like a connective type of tissue with like Ahsoka and maybe like Boba Fett and the Mandalorian and that kind of stuff. So I don't know. What did you guys think about his reveal, and what are your thoughts on him going forward, knowing that there's not much to go on?
So that's what I was trying to figure out. I had the feeling that he was going to be the former captain that was mutinied against. But then I thought, it's kind of weird that the pirate would be force sensitive, and then to say something like, what he said wasn't very piratey. The space between you and the key is an illusion. That seems very Jedi-esque, or just because
Yes.
how cryptic it is.
Yeah.
But he seemed cool. I think the dynamic of him being the former captain of the crew and then breaking them out and helping them escape would be interesting, because you could sort of like show them the ropes of, hey, I know the ins and outs. I used to be a pirate ship captain. But I think there's a lot of different ways where you can go with that, and I'm interested to see where it goes. I get a little sensitive when you bring in the force wielders, because you don't bring in somebody in this time in the universe where there's so few force wielders. You don't bring in a person like that on a whim,
Was that pun intended?
No. I don't even know what the pun was.
You said you get sensitive when you bring in the force wielders? Force sensitive?
Oh no, that was unintentional.
That was a happy accident.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. Whenever you bring somebody in that can wield the force, you have to have your ducks in a row, because of the whole thing with Order 66 and, them being scattered throughout the galaxy. And was this person a Jedi, or is he just a force wielder from somewhere else? Just because you can wield the force doesn't mean that you're a Jedi. So was he like a pirate force wielder? Maz Kanata. She said it herself, and she's like considered the queen of the pirates, I think, at some point. Um, and she knows a lot about the Force. So I don't know. He's very interesting to me. Uh, Before I get to some quick hit Easter eggs, I do think one of the unseen like plot twists that I didn't have on my bingo card was the fact that they're from this planet at Aten that seems to be mythological, and someone mentioned the fact that it holds eternal treasure. It can't be found. No one believes that it exists, but we've seen it. And I don't know about you guys, but I sort of felt like even as pleasant as it is, it sort of seems like something's off there. Did you guys get that vibe?
I thought of that when they mentioned, that it's a fake planet, whatever, fantasy planet. And I thought back to when Wim says that he wants to help people, and they said, like, oh, that's a job for droids.
Yeah.
And then they said, you don't leave the what do you call it?
Barrier.
The barrier.
The barrier. You don't leave the barrier. And they saw a dead droid, and they like kind of freaked out. Like it was kind of like the same thing as seeing a dead body. So, it's like, why are the droids there? Why are the droids doing so much? There were really no people in any positions of authority. There were like a lot of analysts and a lot of people doing stuff, but you didn't know why they were doing it. So clearly I had the feeling from the beginning that there's something going on that we aren't seeing. And then when they said all that, it made a lot more sense. Now I think is when we're gonna start to build toward a big bad, and who are we working for? Why are they keeping us a secret? Why aren't they letting us leave the barrier? That kind of thing.
All of that coupled with the fact that Wim's dad is walking through what just sort of seems like a back forest sort of deal,
Yeah.
and is met by these flashlight droids who are saying it's like a restricted area. Is like, why is there just like a random restricted area in front of this? Like, and why are they showing it right then and there? Like they're trying to plant little storylines so we can follow them up after.
Yeah, so we're all on the same page then there, because I had a lot of the same questions like why is no one allowed outside the barrier, and then they even reference nobody goes in through the barrier. This eternal treasure thing, the mythological status of it, and then I also did key in on the fact that it seemed like droids are running the place, although there's a lot of humans and a lot of characters in positions of some kind of occupation. Those are all the occupations that they mentioned. um like Runa, she just wants to be an accountant, and then our Ithorian kid and the kid that got offended by him saying he wanted to be an analyst, like these are just sort of like pencil pushing positions. So what's the deal with this planet? And I did not expect, this is clearly not going to be just a story of kids lost in space having an adventure trying to get home. That's going to be part of it, but I feel like the fact that they've already given us some mystery surrounding this planet, that's going to be the larger story and the larger picture. And I'm excited about that. As soon as that one lady that was helping Fern and KB like ask where they're from, and they said at Aten, and she's just like, her reaction, she's the first one that said something about, oh, you're from a mythological planet with eternal treasure. I was like, say what now? Excuse me? And I think that's pretty cool. I like that because that ties into like the bigger Star Wars. It could tie into the bigger Star Wars story, which I always get excited about. So, all right, cool. So here's a few Easter eggs here for you. The one that I think is the funniest occurs on that spaceport, and KB walks up to a cage, and it has this little fuzzy creature with like these fluttery wings. Do you remember this scene? And it's in a cage, and it just looks like a little fuzzy thing with wings.
Yeah.
So that creature is from a movie that played in the Disney parks. Disneyland had this. It starred Michael Jackson. It was released in 1986, and it was called Captain EO. Michael Jackson played Captain EO, and he was the captain of a ship with all these different types of creatures in it. This was not a Star Wars attraction. This was in Tomorrowland, and it was near Space Mountain, but it wasn't a Star Wars themed thing. This was a short film that was filmed in 3D. You got your 3D glasses, and the first thing you saw come out of the screen was like this asteroid was floating towards you, and it literally would make people reach out and try to grab it because it looked like it was floating over the audience. Then all of a sudden a laser would come by and blow it up, and it would scare everybody half to death. And then it had, it was just this cool 3D movie. It was directed by Francis Ford Coppola, and it was co-written by George Lucas. And this little creature appeared in it. It was a big deal. He would flutter out over the audience too, because it was 3D. So he would come out and do his little thing and then fly back into the screen. So now they've put him in, or her, I don't know what it is, put him in Star Wars. So I think that is super cool.
I'm sure everything you've told us is accurate, but none of it sounds real. It sounds completely made up.
It was full on. It had a Michael Jackson musical number. There was conflict. It was wonderful. I remember waiting in line for so long to get into Captain EO when it first came out. I can show you next time I go to Disneyland. I'll show you the theater that it played in. It was great. It was great. You guys know who Steve Urkel is?
Of course.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Luke does a pretty good Urkel impression.
Did I do that? I'm sick right now, so my voice just kind of sounds like that anyways.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Well, he's in the show. He plays a pirate. He's the guy that has like the thing over one of his eyes, and he talks to the wolf captain pirate guy. And right there near the end, he's in the beginning and then the end of the second episode. So yeah, I think his name is Gunter.
If they have all these like tributes to all this different stuff and they don't make Urkel's character say, "Did I do that?" I'm throwing the whole show away.
I think that would be amazing. That would be great. A real quick nod to the holiday special from 1978. I'm sure you guys caught on to it. It's the scene where they're showing the inside of Neil's house, and his little siblings are watching this weird hollow projection of these people doing like a circus act or something.
Is that what that was?
That's a reference to the holiday special, yes.
Oh my god. I was like, what in the world are we watching right now?
Apparently, those characters and those costumes were a part of the holiday special. And again, I've never seen the holiday special, so I'm just doing this based off of reading other stuff. But the creators wanted to do a little bit of a tribute to the holiday special. They found that one section. They found the original designs for the costumes, and they recreated them at great expense and hard work. Like they had to recreate these costumes just for that 5-second little clip. That's how much they wanted to honor the holiday special. So to me, it had like Teletubbies vibes to it. Like Teletubbies is legit weird. You guys watch Teletubbies, and I would watch you guys watch this and be like, "What is happening?" It gave me Teletubby vibes. So
sure, but I feel like that on the screen was very much like Teletubbies After Dark.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to unmute my mic and laugh because that's so weird and true. Yeah, it was sort of creepy. What, Luke?
Do you know what CoComelon is?
I've heard of it, but I've never seen CoComelon.
It's just a kid's YouTube channel. It just has like songs and stuff to like entertain children, so their parents don't have to do it themselves. It's like very lighthearted and it's just pretty much just music and sensory colors and stuff. But I was sort of expecting to see that when they showed the twins watching something, and it was very much not that. It was not lighthearted sensory colors and shapes.
Yeah, sort of weird. Sort of weird. But I dug it. It's sort of cool. All right, well, that's. I mean, there's a lot of Easter eggs, but those are the ones that I wanted to bring up. I also think it's sort of cool that this is called the Skeleton Crew, and skeletons can sort of be like synonymous with secrets, and I think it seems like there's a lot of secrets to be found on Atten. I don't know. I just think it's sort of cool, like skeleton secrets. Atten has secrets anyway. So Skeleton Crew.
I responded to the Colbycast's post about it today, and I thought it would be funny and say there's no skeletons in it, having not seen a single second of the show yet. And I was genuinely surprised to see that there were skeletons in this series so far.
There were 2 skeletons. Yes. All right. Any final thoughts then on the first 2 episodes of the Skeleton Crew? I'm excited. I've got everything out there that I wanted to say, and I can't wait to see what else is coming. And I'm looking forward to the next month and a half of Star Wars stories and the chance to talk and listen to other people talk about it. So, how about you guys? Anything left on your plates?
What color was the milk that Wim was using to pour into his cereal? Because that looked disgusting.
I've read
expired. That was expired blue milk.
Expired blue. I read someone mention it was like gray milk. Yeah, so either way, it did not look appealing. So
yeah, pass.
Poor Wim. He's trying his best with a workaholic father. Like he's trying to make ends meet. Caleb,
Father,
brain empty.
No thoughts. Head empty.
Got it. All right, excellent. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. Excited about talking about Star Wars and listening to the discussion around the show. It's got a very high Rotten Tomatoes score if you care about that kind of stuff. It's like 94 or something, so good for it. Thank you all for listening. We appreciate it. So for Caleb and for Luke, this is Colby reminding you that according to galactic law, you can only call claimsies in the presence of the original claimer, unless said claimer doesn't call claimsies in the first place, which would then require both claimants be present, conceivably or conceptually, in order to claim claimsies. Confused? Cool. If you enjoyed this episode, let us know. You can find the Colbycast on Instagram, Threads, and X at the Colbycast. Episodes can also be found on YouTube, so like and subscribe. If you feel so inclined, rate and review our show on your podcatcher of choice. That really helps the show beat the algorithm and helps us find new friends to add to the conversation. If you're wordy, like me, you can send an email to thecolbycast@gmail.com. All music is licensed through Adobe Stock and performed by ProMusic24. This podcast is not endorsed by anyone or anything for that matter. It's intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of the Colbycast unless otherwise indicated.
That'll do, Donkey.
That'll do.